Cyber Reapers! Hello, Cyber Reapers! Wow, it has been a week, hasn't it? Alright, I don't know about you, but lots of stuff happened to me this week. Don't worry, I won't regale you with all the boring details, but it was, I released my book on July 8th, so that's exciting, and it's been super great. Like the small little dedicated audience that When Truth Cowers has is awesome, so yeah. And then also, the I don't know if I mentioned last week, a little bit of a car scrape. Not really a car crash, but somebody ran into me and then, ran away, because I couldn't see their license plate in time. Anyway, though, and I have my regular table set up back, so I'm a lot more comfortable right now, like, recording this, so I'm super happy about that, because the previous table I was using was just super not easy to balance, and so I felt like I was focusing so much on the microphone instead of actually just talking. So I'm really glad to have this back. Anyway, though, I've also been writing a book. I'm about 40,000 words into this one, and this book, I feel like if I don't just power through it, I'm not going to be able to get back into finishing it to write it later. So that's why I haven't been reading as much lately, but I'm really hoping to. I checked out a book that looks really good from the library, well, the Libby app, so I'm looking forward to reading that, hopefully this week, next week, somewhere around then. And for now, I think I decided I've talked quite a bit about my own, stuff that I like about books, so I figured I'd ask you, and you can think about what you like about books, So I saw, like, a few ASM artists, they have, like, videos where they will, like, ask the viewer questions just about, like, random things to encourage you to sleep. And with me, I don't know entirely, I don't think my audience is big enough yet to where, like, I have much feedback, but, like, feel free to let me know if you listen to my videos to fall asleep, or if you listen to them to, like, relax but not necessarily sleep, because that will maybe, like, influence kind of how my tone is. But as of right now, I'm just gonna kind of take that concept of asking questions to encourage sleep or relaxation, and I'm just gonna kind of put my own spin on it, use the whole bookish ASMR vibe to make the questions about books or about stories you've read, stuff like that. And, feel free to, like, not answer any question, like, I don't know if you want to talk at the screen or just think about it, but regardless whether you think or, like, decide to answer aloud for your own, comfort, feel free to skip any questions you want. None of these questions are required. You don't gotta listen to me at all. You could just listen to my voice. I'm just kind of here, and I will be here asking you questions. You don't gotta think too hard about it. I don't want you to think too hard. Just allow whatever answer comes to mind to just be, that answer, and to consider it, because I always like thinking about books, and I mean, this channel is kind of my way of doing so, of really diving in and considering the impact that a book has left on me whenever it's, like, a really positive book, or a positive impact from a book. So I'm kind of allowing you to do a little bit of the same thing. It's a bit experimental, but we're gonna try it, alright? And yeah, so alright, to start. Question 1, and I probably won't keep track of these, but for now, question 1. What is your favorite book? Yeah, your favorite. Okay. I'm not sure if I've heard of that one, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Oh, my favorite book. deciding. I think I grew up with the science fiction books by S.J. Kincaid, so I think I would say probably the Diabolic series, and then if I had to narrow it down to one book, the Diabolic would be my favorite book if I had to pick one, the Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, because that's really, those books got me into reading and writing sci-fi. So, yeah, so, what elaborate a little more, what made you choose this book as your favorite? And yeah, you can talk for a while or talk for a little bit. I'm just kind of here to listen. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Alright. I love that. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll have to put that on my list. I have a long list of to be read that I don't really keep track of, but it's kind of in my mind, which doesn't sound super productive, but anyway. I mean, speaking of TBR list, though, do you have, a book that you are, going, this is my next book that I am going to read? Yeah. Okay. I think I have heard about that one. I haven't read it, but yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing, what you think about it after you read it. I mean, even if it takes a while, I take a while to address my to-be-read list as well, so, don't even worry about it if you take ages. Yeah, speaking of taking ages, how long do you typically, spend reading a book, or does it, depend on how into the book you are? How long does it take to read it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds fair. I know a lot of people who have, a lot of different reading paces. Yeah. And for me, I feel like it can go... I feel like I tend to read in very, dedicated spurts of time. So I'll usually take, 2 to 4 days to finish a book. Which I hear that can be kind of quick, but I'm it's really because I just spend all my time reading during those days that I read the book. I mean, not all my time. I gotta do other things, chores and keeping up the house and making sure, my hygiene is up and everything, and sleeping. But sleeping does take a little bit of a dent whenever I'm reading, because I like to read it morning and night. Usually at night, though. Yeah. Is there a specific time of day that you like reading? The best? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, fall under either, a lot of people are night owls, I think is the term, where, they tend to do a lot of stuff, a lot of their productivity stuff at night, or even just, stuff they really enjoy. So, yeah, it's, that's totally valid. And also reading in the morning, yeah, I mean, with the sunrise and everything, just giving that sort of rejuvenation, freshness that only, that golden sunlight time period can really give. So nice. And I mean, the afternoon's great too, because it's just that sort of middle of the day era, and you get to brighten the day a little bit by, reading a little more then. Yeah. And even, breaks during work, my brother tends to read during his lunch break at work. So, yeah, I totally get, I can see doing any sort of time period of the day, or night. Yeah. just kind of do whatever. Yeah. That's fair, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, alright, yeah. I feel like with me, it's usually I have to read in a comfy place because I can't sit still. My body just decides to fidget so much. But I feel most comfortable when I'm like lying in bed. I mean, you can kind of see I've got, my plushie set up. And to be honest, I do move them around a little bit so that you can see them better. Usually they're kind of just all over the place. But I have like a blanket sort of set up in the corner here of my bed where I like to lean back and kind of partially sit up, partially lie down. And that's a really comfy place for me to read. But I enjoy having the entire bed space though to be able to like keep like shifting my position because my legs will not sit still. So yeah, typically I'm here or the couch chair. But I also carry a book around in public, so I understand that vibe too, because when I'm like waiting in the doctor's office, sometimes it's like 5 minutes and then they're there, and other times it's like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then they're there, so that's a lot of time I could spend reading, so it's nice to just kind of bring a book with me to wherever I go in case I get in a situation like that. So yeah, it's really neat though, like to have I like the mix, of having like a dedicated place and then other times just being like, I don't care, I'll read wherever, So yeah, I understand like different aspects on like how you can do that. Yeah, that's really neat. Let's see. What else? Oh, I didn't ask about like what your favorite genre or genres are. So, do you want to tell me? Okay. Yeah. I feel like, any type of reading, I don't think you can go wrong, Just like there are so many different genres out there to be able to pick from, so like that's awesome, I feel like with me I'm geared toward like my mind generally, or my heart is generally leaning towards trying to find sci-fi books and thriller books and paranormal books that blend in with something else, like paranormal sci-fi, paranormal fantasy, historical fiction, stuff like that, because I like genre blending, but I also feel like I end up reading a decent amount of different genres because I actively seek marginalized authors, and so it kind of results in me going, this book sounds like it could be interesting, and it's by a marginalized author, so I'll give it a try. And then I really like it, and it turns out it's a contemporary romance, which I don't usually pick up, but like, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think really any kind of reading is pretty much, yeah, it's valid, Same with audiobooks, that counts as reading, I don't think you get to say that audiobooks are not reading when, like, the majority of human history stories were told via, like, voice, and people memorized it and learned to repeat it, and so those are whole books, and they eventually got, copied down. That's the Iliad and the Odyssey, right? So, I think, yeah, audiobooks definitely count. And yeah, well, whatever kind of format you like to read, I think that's awesome, So, speaking of, do you have like a favorite format, like ebook, paperback, hardback, audiobook? Do you have like a specific one that you tend to like latch on to? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I bounce all over the place in my preferences. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't given audiobooks a try yet, just because I feel like I can't keep up very easily sometimes when people speak. Like, I really find it helpful if somebody is talking. I really like captions because my mind like processes things like a second later or a few seconds after somebody says it. And so I'm usually like masking in conversations of like nodding when I think I'm supposed to, or like smiling or laughing when I'm supposed to, or when I think I am, based on like context clues of like the conversation around me. But I still like process the actual words themselves like a few seconds late usually. And so with audiobooks, I feel like I'm a little nervous to get into them because I don't know how the format exactly is. Like if there are captions that you can listen to at the same time, or you can listen to the voice at the same time and like look at the captions. I don't know how well I'd process it. I'm curious to give it a try though, you know. Maybe I'll check out an audiobook from Libby at one point just to like see like if I'm good with the format, because I'm a little worried that I'm gonna like miss something super important and then go, wait, what? When was that ever mentioned? You know? So, because oftentimes I'll like flip back to a different page in the book that I'm reading to just check on something, because my mind sometimes goes, wait, did that happen? So, yeah. But yeah, audiobooks are great. Ebooks are great for like being able to read it on a compact device and to be able to change the font and everything. Like it's great because there are a lot of like print books that are, you know, that have itty bitty font, and I'm going, why do you want me to strain your eyes just so you can reduce printing costs? That might not necessarily be why they did it, but knowing how much printing costs are, I get it. But I still think I'd rather have the larger font, you know, and the bigger page count, than the itty bitty font that strains my eyes. But then again, like holding an actual book is pretty neat, and of course the sensory experience of the smell and everything, super nice. New book, old book, you really can't go wrong with how a book, like a paperback or a hardback copy, how those tend to smell, you know, and the actual like experience, the textile experience of feeling the pages, and holding it, that's pretty nice. Although of course I have these on my hands because of pre-arthritis symptoms, so it's probably for the best that I don't super strain my thumbs all that much, so having a mix of like not always holding a book and not always holding the book you have to hold like this is probably good for me health-wise. But yeah, I like a mix. But I also respect, you know, just picking one and staying with one if you want, or a couple, you know. So, because yeah, I mean, ebooks and audiobooks reduce like the amount of like paper that is being used, you know. So, but yeah. But I also understand wanting the aesthetic of the shelf and going like, ah yes, I'm going to pick up this book and I'm going to read it. So, yeah. Anyway, do you have like, I don't know, do you have like a lot of books, or do you tend to, let me rephrase the question a little bit. Do you have like a collection of books, or do you like prefer to borrow books, as in like via library or friends, you know? Or is it like a mix of both? How do you feel about that? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like I'm a mix. I enjoy borrowing books from like the library app that I use, Libby, because it allows me to like try a bunch of different authors and read a bunch of different stories, without having to, you know, use all of my money. Because most of the books that I have at this point, like the physical copy books or the ebooks that I paid for, any books that I paid for, pretty much at this point, I don't really buy books all that much anymore. Most of them I just have acquired over the years as I like grew up. So it's, yeah, I'm kind of a mix. Yeah, like I have a collection, but I don't really add to that collection very often. So yeah. do very much like that. Again, the textile experience of having the book, and also being able to like support the author via buying the book, but also, you know, renting, loaning, library, that process. Anyway, the library, you know, loaning process and such is also really good. It also supports authors. Basically, the only thing, like, pirating is the only thing that doesn't support the author. Well, I shouldn't say the only thing that doesn't, but in terms of if you want to read an author's book, don't pirate it, because that, you know, that's not supporting them. So, yeah, I mean, literally, with a lot of authors, at least a lot of like indie authors that I know, if you're genuine about it and you just ask, like, reach out in an email and like genuinely write down like, hey, I really want to read your book, here are my like reasons and such, I don't want to pirate it because obviously that wouldn't support you, and like probably even add, it would certainly help to be like, I'm fully, like, I write reviews as well, so I would be up for writing a review for you, like, or for your book, you know, afterwards. I want to support you, I just do not financially have the money, and your book is not available to me via, like, a library kind of a thing. Like, if you're genuine about it, pretty much most indie authors I know will be like, yeah, I'll get you, like, a PDF or something for you, like, don't even worry about it. Just as long as you're genuine about it, you know? I don't remember where I was starting with that. Oh, I think just, like, not pirating books, I guess. Anyway, cause yeah, that really is devastating for authors to see their books being pirated, you know? Especially because it really can, like, destroy their careers if they are using services, say, like Amazon, which is, like, one of the few services that are available to indie authors that actually get their books out there. So, I mean, I get if you're part of the Amazon boycott, I generally am as well, except when it comes to, like, small businesses, indie authors that don't get, like, they don't have any other way of, like, getting their book out there or their stuff out there, except for Amazon. It's unfortunate, but it's just the situation, the system that we're in. Fortunately for me, I don't feel like Amazon is my only, like, way forward. I have my website, I have a bunch of different places my book is on because I use Ingram Spark and Drafted Digital, so it's on, like, websites like Barnes & Noble and other places. But generally, indie bookstores can't afford to take chances on indie books, so that's kind of a common misconception of just indie bookstores might have indie books, and, like, maybe they do, but a lot of them just can't afford to take the chance, you know? So, yeah, it's the system that we're all in, of how books get out there, you know? Okay, where was I from that? Amazon. So yeah, understand if you're part of the Amazon boycott, that makes sense. But, like, there are a lot of, like, individual stores or authors on there that rely on Amazon to get anything done, like any of their sales seen or anything. So, and where was I before that? Alright, that might just be a tangent that ends up being loose, I'm sorry. Let's get back to questions, shall we? Yeah. Let's see, what's another good question for you? Because I already asked about, let's see, genres and, like, how you read. Are there any specific tropes that you, like, absolutely love? And if you don't know what, like, a trope is, it's like whenever there's, like, a reoccurring kind of thing, or a thing that occurs in, like, many books that sometimes, like, readers will actively seek, like, enemies to lovers is a popular trope. Or the grumpy character paired with a sunshine, happy character, or found family. I absolutely love that one, and I love writing that one. You get together a bunch of people who are, like, who are very different from each other, and they're forced together, or they decide to come together for one reason or another, and they realize that they can support each other in ways that they haven't been supported before. Like, I love found family, so that's mine. Little hint right there. Do you have any tropes that you really love seeing in books? are just so many tropes, and I'm not even aware of most of them until like they come up and I go, oh yeah, that is a thing, isn't that? Yeah, okay. Alright, I think I've heard of most of those, but like, again, some of, like, it's, I feel like I learn something new about the book community every day, you know, where I'm going like, oh yeah, that is a thing, or what is that, you know, so, yeah, I love hearing about what tropes other people enjoy, because it brings more awareness to me of going, oh, so these exist, I did not know that, interesting. Yeah, and they can be super interesting in of themselves, with me going, huh, I don't think I've read a book like that. I'd be kind of curious to see how someone pulls that off. And I think particularly like enemies to lovers is a trope that a lot of people throw around, and in the book community too, there's a lot of people who go, look, enemies actually means enemies. Don't say your book has enemies to lovers if they're really something different. For example, if they're rivals to lovers, that's different. If they actively want to, you know, attack each other and try to off each other, that's enemies. And then they become lovers, and typically those have a hard time being pulled off in one book from what I hear. Like, it usually requires like a series or at least a long time in the book to pass for that to work. But I don't know, I haven't read many of those, to be honest, so I'm not sure yet. I think I did start reading one though, and it's the first book in a planned series, so I don't know where it's gonna go, so we'll see. But yeah. So it's interesting to see how the tropes are, how they're typically used, and also how they get subverted, you know? Like, for example, I think the Grumpy and Sunshine character, I think typically those used to be, like, Grumpy would be the male love interest, and then the Sunshine character would be female love interest, and so the subversion of that trope is flipping it, if you have, you know, a straight, cis relationship, whatever. Yeah. Out of curiosity, do you prefer seeing romance in the books that you read, or do you prefer no romance, or you like a mix? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are so many different opinions on, like, romance in books versus not. And I respect it. I'm great with, like, if somebody puts romance into the plot, I'm like, sure, go for it. I think I tend to, like, go for stories that have a different plot overall, but if there's romance in it, I'm like, yeah, sure, go for it. I don't think I tend to read straight, that's not the word I meant to use, romance, as in, like, that being the main genre of a book. But yeah, I do enjoy seeing it when it appears. I think, though, I do try, like, I think one of the reasons I read young adult books so often is that it pretty much guarantees that there isn't sex on page. With adult books, I can never really tell, and sometimes they don't advertise whether there is sex in it or not, and I really would rather know. I'm asexual personally, and I just don't really care for reading about sex, and it's perfectly fine if you do. I am not dissing that. I'm just, like, it's not for me. So I'm, like, I'd rather know, I guess, and that's kind of why I put that in my, like, content warnings section, which is a little bit goofy to name, because I include, like, whether there are swear words as well, and I feel like some of the things in the content warning section that I write into my books, I feel like some of those things aren't really things that need content warnings, or rather, I should say they're not trigger warnings, but, like, they're things that would be useful to know, you know, if that's what you're looking for or not looking for. And so I'm like, I generally include whether there is, you know, spice on any sort of level, if there's sex, which usually there's not, and if there is, it's off page for me and what I write, you know, and if there are swear words, and if there are, like, how mild to, moderate, severe, or whatever, like how frequent, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I feel like I feel like that stuff is just generally helpful. Especially when I'm stepping into a book and I don't know much about it beyond like the premise, and usually in the premise, unless it's even if it is a romance, they aren't usually going to say if the characters have sex, so you usually find that in the marketing, if you do it all. So, anyway though, like what, is this too personal a question? I mean, feel free to skip any of these if you want, by the way. I'm just kind of asking you things. But if you feel like answering, what kind of content or like trigger warnings do you basically just avoid? Like if a book has something, like what kind of things make you put a book down, actually, is probably a better general question. What kind of things are you just like, nope, I'm not touching that book, or I am not finishing this book because it has this in it? That's understandable. Yeah. I feel like I resonate with so many things that like people say, like if a character is this, like, or does this or something, it's just no, we're done with this book. Yeah. I've heard some kind of funny ones too, of like, well, I shouldn't say funny, I just mean like you hear the general like ones that a lot of people agree with. Like if there's an unexpected pregnancy in the book, that's a do not finish for a lot of women. And if there's like, romanticized abuse, that's usually a no. I mean, it depends on the genre, but like, because if you're in a dark romance, then it's a little gray there, but from what I hear, I don't know, it's but like some people have things that make them not put the book down, that are like, if I don't like one of the characters' names, I'm done. And I'm like, alright, fair enough. I was not expecting that, but fair enough, So, and like, I think I've heard like some people say, yeah, if one of the characters' names of like one of the good characters is the names of like one of my exes, like, we're done. We're not reading the rest of this book. And I go, you know what? Alright, fair. Like, whatever makes you not want to finish a book, that's fine. Generally, I mean, if you have internalized prejudice against some of the characters, maybe look into that. Say if you're going, this book needed a trigger warning for the trans character, which, yes, people have actually said, and that's ridiculous. Like, identities don't need to be a trigger warning. But anyway, like that kind of thing, I go, eh. But basically anything else, I'm going, yeah, if you want to put a book down, you should put a book down, So, well, but I do know there are some people that are very much like, no, I will finish this book even if I don't like it. And I go, alright. I mean, I feel bad for you putting yourself through a bad experience, but like, if that's what you want to do, go for it, So if you're reading a book and you don't like it, do you just like press forward as far as you can? Or do you like just go, nah, I'm not feeling it, I'm just not gonna read it, Yeah, and hey, that's perfectly reasonable, yeah. Yeah. I feel like I lean toward the side of, I'm gonna try to push through as far as I can, but I have definitely like put down books before, and sometimes it's a case of like, I'm not really feeling this right now, but maybe later, and other times it's just me going, I don't think I vibe with this. In one recent case, I actually did push through the whole thing just because it happened to be what is it? Not a full novel, but a novella. And so I was going, okay, I mean, it's fairly short. I might as well see if it gets better. Unfortunately, I just did not vibe with that book, novella at all. And I was going, how did you leave the ending like that? That's not an ending. I don't know. Anyway, that's my personal opinion on that. And I pushed through that one, but I'm reading another book right now, or I was reading another book, I should say, a few months ago, where I really wanted to like the book because I liked some of the stuff on like the author's social media page, and they're a fellow indie author, so I was going, okay, I'll read your book. And I just got I pushed through about 30% of it, and I was just going, I'm not sure I vibe with this book. And then the author posted something kind of problematic, or to me problematic. Well, it wasn't super problematic, it was just they were putting down books that had sex in them, and I'm kind of going, you don't need to put down other books to promote your book, you know? Like, it's one thing to just say, my book has no sex in it. It's another thing to say, my book doesn't have sex in it, unlike some of those books. And I know that doesn't sound bad, what I just said. I'm paraphrasing, though, kind of the way it was said, in such a way that I'm kind of going, I'm not sure I vibe with this author anymore, and I'm not sure I vibe with their story at all. Just really unfortunate. I wanted to like it, and I don't know. So I think I might not finish that one. I might come back to it, because, again, I want to support fellow indie authors, but I think, and I'd be curious to see if the book, I mean, I already bought it, so I'm curious to see if it gets, if I vibe with it more later, maybe. But already, kind of, I'm seeing the change on their social media, to where I'm going, I'm not sure I like this self-righteous vibe associated with the books without sex in it kind of promotion of your book. But I don't know. I think it's still kind of early to tell whether they're gonna keep being like that, or if they're gonna change their mind, or at least apologize, for their wording. I don't know. There's a lot of discourse online about that, and it seems like some people don't care. But given the purity culture that exists already, that puts down so many books that have sex in them, or that promote, what is it called? Sexual positivity, sex positivity, is that it? Basically just trying to, reject purity culture and be like, hey, this is a natural part of how people are and what people do. Not talking about it is harmful, and bashing it is harmful, because it results in, just not safe sex, so it's, or rather, very unsafe sex versus, safer sex. That's really the better term, because there isn't technically a safe sex. But anyway, you wouldn't know that if you didn't talk about it, though, so that's why purity culture is just not good, especially in the book space, where fiction and books, and like nonfiction as well, is a really great space where a reader can just have a private, individual relationship with the ideas that are being communicated to them via a book. They can have their own thoughts and interpretations of it and apply it to their life, so it's really helpful to see characters that do things that are different than what you do, or characters who have different perspectives than you. So it's yeah. And I mean, me personally, I don't vibe with books that have sex on page, but that doesn't mean I don't support them. I support the actual sharing of ideas and sharing of promoting sex positivity, and I definitely don't like the idea of putting down one genre or one way of doing a genre or a way of I don't like the idea of putting down other books to promote your book. That just doesn't sound like it doesn't seem like a positive book community space, you know? So anyway, I didn't mean to talk so much about that. I guess just I'm kind of still in my own head debating on whether I'm gonna like even read this book at all, or if I should just stop, because I'm pretty sure I don't support the author anymore, or like at least not unless they like think about their words a little more and think about how they're promoting their book. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I guess speaking of like book promotion, how do you usually like find your next read? Is it like a social media thing? Do you like scroll through the library app, or do you just take recommendations from friends? Like how does it go for you? Like what happens? Yeah. Yeah. That's valid. Cool, okay, yeah. I feel like with me, it's a mix of finding stuff on social media, searching on the library app, because I like all the filters they have on there of like science fiction, and then I can search on there like black author, you know, and it narrows it down for me, and I'm like, oh cool, you know. I mean, I think that's how I found a lot of recent books. I talked about Alicia Dow's books, which I absolutely loved those 3. I devoured those in 3 weeks. But I found that via, you know, searching on the filters with Libby. And no, this is not sponsored by Libby. I keep saying I use Libby. That's just because that's how I happen to get books. So, but yeah, it's yeah, mix of social media, mix of the filters and such on Libby, and I think also sometimes recommendations from friends as well. I have a friend, Emily, who like we share our books we recently read, you know, and so I always find that fun, you know, of just like finding people that you can like share recommendations with, and it's just super cool. I think there's something really neat about bringing such an individual activity like such as reading, and bringing it to a community space, you know. I think that's really cool. So yeah, all right. Now then, a question for the people about to fall asleep, I guess, if just in case that's something you want to do right now. Do you happen to like have dreams that relate to the books you're actively reading? Yeah. Okay. I mean, fair. There's a lot of answers to this question, I feel like. Or I've heard answers to this question that differ, you know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've really heard too that it kind of depends on how like emotionally invested you get in the book, you know. For a lot of people at least, yeah. And I think that includes me too. Yeah. Yeah, I think dreams are super interesting, and just a lot of the media that I consume, including books, movies, TV shows, like music, they get into my head and then they get into my dreams, and it's the weirdest amalgamation of plot, I guess, sort of, that happens in my head, of like what's going on, with a mix of like scenarios that I think I got from a book, and then like characters from a movie or TV show, and just a lot of craziness. So I think it'd be nice if I actually had more dreams that were just based solely off of the books I read, maybe not the thrillers, but like the like, I don't know, the fun parts of the books that are the more lighthearted parts. But of course, my dreams go, no, you don't need any of that lighthearted stuff. Let's give you the thriller book premises and drop you in there. That sounds fun. Anyway, that's how rude my subconscious is. So, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like books have such an effect on people. And it shows up in different ways too, so that's why I was curious about like how your dreams might be, because mine definitely do get affected from the books that I read. It just depends, you know. So yeah. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, because I have asked you a lot and I have talked a lot, you know. So I think that this has been a nice session for me to, like, you know, talk with you, and also, you know, just think about questions related to books and related to like book preferences and such. So I hope this was fun for you as well. Let me know. So yeah, you are an awesome listener, and thank you also for sharing your thoughts with me, you know, on books and things. So yeah, okay. Wherever you go, whatever you do next, I hope that it is fun and or